Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Freddy and this is my video on the mid-year book freakout tag 2020. So it's a tag video, so it's essentially me talking more about myself, which isn't exactly a bad thing, but yeah. So I was tagged by Shawn The Book Maniac and you can check out his video. I put on the link in the description box below. Lately, my video posting has been a little bit sparse. This week has been kind of packed for me. My weekdays have been kind of crazy, not really much time for me to do videos. Most of the time I just feel tired when I got home. But I did get some reading done, which is incredible. I think I made progress on that and I am very happy about that part of my life. I think next week or the coming weeks are gonna be a little bit packed as well. So not much probably from the YouTube side of things when it comes to booktubing, but I'll try to get something out. I've just finished a book which is an awesome book and I can't wait to make a video on that, so yeah, stay tuned. But yeah, let's get to the question, shall we? So the first question is the best book I've read so far in 2020. I read quite a few books that I gave 5 stars to, so all of them are pretty different in styles and genres. So I can't really say which one of them is like the best of all. But if I were to choose, I would just want to point out one of the more one of the more obscure books, which is The Last Quarter of the Moon by Chi Zijian. This book was a book that I bought because I had a good feeling about it. I didn't know much about this book prior to that, and I just want to mention this book, give it a little bit of shout out so that everyone can know how awesome this book is. So this was a book that I read in February till March, and it's about the story of a group of Evenki tribe in northeastern China across the 20th century, and it's essentially a family saga. It has tons of characters in it, and you see how the Evenki tribes kind of evolved in their lifestyle from their earlier nomadic lifestyles to later when the country starts to get more modernized and their lifestyles tend towards modernization as well. And overall, it's a pretty quiet book. It's a lovely book to read when you're snuggling in bed, with your favorite drink, and it's just a very comforting read. Next question is the best sequel I've read in 2020, and I don't really read series. Most of the books, I would say more than 90% of the books that I read are standalone. So I think in 2020 so far, I have not read any books that is a part of series except for My Brilliant Friend. But even so, My Brilliant Friend is the first book in the series. So it's not a sequel, so no sequel so far. Third question, new release I haven't read yet but want to. Generally, I don't do new releases because I prefer books that have aged. I would usually wait until like 3 or 4 years or more, then I read a book. That's just how I roll. But if I were to mention any of the newer releases that I have some interest in reading, I would probably mention, because I have a good feeling about it. That's generally how I do stuff. Valeria Luiselli's Lost Children Archives. I don't know why. I don't really read much of the blurb as well, but somehow I want to read this book. I don't know, maybe it's something about the title. I am drawn towards dramatic sounding titles, and that title is dramatic. And so for the fourth questions, my most anticipated release in the second half of the year, I don't have any anticipated release because I don't anticipate any new releases because, like I said, I don't do new releases in general. I like older books. I like aged books. Number five, my biggest disappointment this year so far, I must say it's Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni's The Mistress of Spices because, again, I was expecting a really good urban fantasy story from that one with a little bit of domestic fiction kind of thing sprinkled around. But instead, I got a story that was not really well written, I guess, and the main character is just a little bit immature and annoying, and I don't like it. And so I did not finish that. For my biggest surprise this year, that's the next question. That would be Crossing to Safety by Wallace Stegner. This is a literal surprise because when I picked this book to read, I didn't exactly just decide to consciously decide to pick this book to read it. I didn't even have the intention to read this book. I mean, I probably have some intention because I actually bought it, but when I picked this book, my intention wasn't like there. Because what I did was I put the entire list of all the books that I have that I have not read in an online roulette, where it helps me to pick the next book that I want to read. So it's just like a random object chooser, and I put it in the list, and it chose this for me, and that's why it was a surprise because when I read this book, I wasn't excited. Because I didn't expect anything about it. I didn't know anything about it, and it turned out this book was awesome. And also usually because I read women's writers, so this is from a male writer. I don't really read much male writers, although I'm starting to read more, and seeing that this book is really wonderful, it was a surprise. It was really nice. It was great. So going on to the next question, my favorite new author. I can't just say that I have a favorite new author already because I only have read like single books from most of the authors so far in 2020. But if I were to choose which authors actually piqued my interest, first of all, of course, let's say Wallace Stegner is one of my new favorite author. I'm not sure if he's gonna be my favorite author next because I actually bought another book by him and it's called The Spectator Bird. So I'm curious to see how that turned out. And another one that I want to mention also is pretty good book as well, Certainty by Madeline Tien. And because of this, I was also inspired to read another one of her work, Do Not Say We Have Nothing. Okay, so for the next question, my newest fictional crush. I don't do fictional crushes because I can't really picture my crushes physically. When I'm crushing on someone, of course there's a personality aspect involved, but there's also this physical aspect. And if I were to imagine the character that I like in the book, and to call it my crush, I would actually imagine that character to be attractive in the way I imagine them to be, which isn't exactly something that is fun when you're crushing on someone, because I prefer to crush on someone and actually have them look totally unexpected, like unexpectedly attractive. But if I were to imagine faces of characters in the book, then I would actually imagine them based on what I already know. So it's not exactly fun. Therefore, I don't crush on any fictional characters. So, next question, my newest favorite character. I don't exactly have a single character that I really, really like. So, I'm just going to mention one character that I find really interesting, which is Miss Bunsidik in The Sum of Our Follies by Shiliko. So, that character is actually a transgender character, which I think is an awesome thing because it's a representation in a Malaysian novel, and the way the character was represented was really great. Essentially, the character was presented as someone who has personalities, and the fact that she was a transgender character, it does not feel like ham-fisted in the book, and it felt really natural the way that the character interacts with other characters in this book. It was really wonderful. And so that kind of extends to the next question, books that made me cry. No books have made me cry, but of course, again, this book I want to mention, it did make me feel something. It didn't make me cry, but it made me feel something. Also because of Miss Bunsidik, the transgender character, which there's a portion in this book which talks about events that concerns that character. So I'm not going to talk much about it, but basically something awful happens to her, and the way that the other characters in this book react to that incident, I'm just going to say they react well, they react wonderfully. And it was that part that was actually something that made me feel good, feel something close to crying, but I didn't cry. So the next question is a favorite book to film adaptation I saw this year. I think I only saw one book to film adaptation, and that was actually The Garden of Evening Mist by Tan Tuan Eng. I saw the movie in the beginning of the year, and I thought that it was wonderful. Obviously, that movie did not attract a large audience. When I went to the cinema, there were only two of us in that big hall. There were only two people in the audience, and it was evening. So when the movie ended, it was already like 10 something, 11 something p.m. And yeah, it was a really wonderful movie. It was made almost faithfully to the novel. There were a lot of details in the novel that wasn't in the movie, but it didn't actually disrupt the flow. But if you like the novel, if you have read this book, then you should check out this movie as well, because I thought that it was really wonderful. So the next question number 13, favorite video I have done so far in this year, and I think this one concerns mostly about reviews. I do book talk videos, so I have a lot of videos that are about single book reviews. Usually, I don't really like to revisit my videos. Well, not usually, most of the time, because I don't like looking back at myself and talking back. It feels weird. But I think I enjoyed doing the one for Certainty by Madeline Tien, because that one felt the most personal to me, and I actually felt quite happy doing it. I enjoyed doing it. Okay, so we're reaching the second to last questions, which is the most beautiful book I've bought so far this year. Most beautiful book. So I just want to show this. I actually, just literally bought this book because I thought that the cover was beautiful. And this book actually cost me like 58 ringgit 90 cents. So it's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. And this is actually part of a book collection. It's the Bloomsbury Modern Classics, and I find that the design is really sleek. It's beautiful, and just look at this artwork. It's beautiful as well, and it kind of inspired me to find more of the books in this collection. And then I found out that I actually had already possessed 4 of the books in this collection. So I won't be buying the Bloomsbury Modern Classics edition for these books, because even though I think that their cover looks beautiful, it just doesn't make sense for me to buy a second copy of a book because I'm not that rich. And so we've come to the last question, and that is what book I need to read by the end of this year. Need to read. I don't have a book that I need to read, but I do have a book or books that I want to read because they are from authors that I really love. And so the first one is actually something I bought from Book Depository for the first time, and I actually had to wait like 1 month for that. And it's this wonderful hardcover right here, The Gift of Rain by Tan Tuan Eng. And another one is also a hardcover book by an author that I really like. Also with beautiful cover, it's Three Daughters of Eve by Elif Shafak. So yeah, really nice stuff, a lot of beautiful books. So that's it for the mid-year book Freakout Tag 2020, and I don't have much to say other than I am going to enjoy the weekend. This is actually a Saturday morning, so I'm going to have fun, hopefully. And yeah, I'll see you again next time. And until then, take care and bye-bye.